out. Can you just tell us the extent of those injuries, firstly?
We don't think they'll be out too long. I think with Jamie and Sean, we believe they'll be back for the French game. Jamie had a tightening of his hamstring, so it's a 1 to 2 week injury. Sean had a knee that affected his Achilles, and he had to leave the field. And look, at a push, he could have been available this weekend, but given the physical nature of the game, the training that we need, and also the fact he's not played hardly any rugby in the last few weeks, we felt it not right to put him into the team this weekend. But we see both them being back in the next couple of weeks. With Cam, it's slightly different. It's obviously with a neck issue. You're just waiting to see how it recovers. So there's a neural element there, and we're just waiting to get his strength back before he returns to full training. But we're hopeful he'll have a part to play in the championship later on.
You bring in Blade, James and Darcy. Can you just explain the thinking behind those three? They all played in the victory over Wales in October. Was that part of the thinking, or is that just happy coincidence?
A happy coincidence, but it's probably a coincidence because they were very close to the team. They played for us this season, played a number of games throughout autumn. He's been in very good form for his club. He just missed out selection last week, and Darcy would have been in the mix too, but he's obviously not played as much rugby in the last few weeks. James has been going back and playing well for Harlequins. All three have been training well, and they're fit and ready to go. So there's cohesion there, and there's also the quality of the three players.
Thanks, Gregor.
Thank you.
Gregor, Wales are missing quite a few players through injury as well. Do you feel that these opening games were particularly physical, and that's contributed to the injury toll on both sides?
Yeah, look, I think Six Nations rugby and Test rugby is physical. We're probably seeing more injuries in games now because players haven't had lots of games, lots of Test matches or games at Test match level to build up that robustness. For a number of our players at the weekend, it was their first game in a few weeks. As we mentioned before, Sean Maitland, I don't think he'd started a game since the end of September. So it's a testament to the players' abilities to play so well in an intense international match. But there are niggles or injuries that do come from these games.
How do you feel having played them in the Six Nations so recently will affect this one? The confidence that your players will have from having gone to Wales and won, but then also them losing that sort of 18-year home streak against Scotland, that's going to hurt them and fuel them as well, isn't it? Yeah,
there'll be both emotions, no doubt. Our camp, we've looked at that game and what worked well for us, but we also know Wales are an improved team since the autumn. I thought they played really well last week. They've got some real experienced players back in the mix for them, and they've got the confidence of an opening weekend win. And I'm sure they'll be determined to reverse the result from a few months ago.
Cheers, Gregor.
Thank you.
Next question, please.
Gregor, hi, James here from Sky. What have you made of Wales under Wayne Pivac, and why do you think they've struggled in the transition from Gatland?
Well, on the basis of last week, we were really impressed. We felt that with the red card, it did change the nature of the game, and Ireland had a lot of possession just after that. Wales had to make a lot of tackles, and they showed how tough they were to front up defensively to get that win, and show the improvements that they made since the autumn. Wales are a quality team. If you look at their individual players, they've got players close to 100 caps, well over 100 caps, players that won Grand Slams, and they've got some real experience in that pack. So we expect them to perform, and we know that their game now looks to have added physicality from what we saw in the autumn.
They're lacking. They got a few injuries. Wayne Pivac's been under a bit of pressure. Do you feel like you can capitalise on that?
No, these are irrelevant to us and our players. What's relevant is how we can impose our game and also how we can negate the strengths of the opposition. Each game is different, and we'll wait and see what Wales bring and how we react to that. But the important thing is for us to build on the performance that we delivered last weekend.
Thank you.
Hi, Gregor. Do you think that, without a crowd there, do you think there's any difference to home field advantage as to what there would be in normal times?
Yes, and that's a threat for us this weekend. We've really fed off the energy of our crowd over the last 2 or 3 years with the sellout crowds at BT Murrayfield. It does give you help as you start a game, help if the opposition are on the front foot. So that won't be the case this week. We've gone away from home four times since no crowds were involved in the Six Nations, whether it's Rome, Llanelli, Twickenham or Dublin, and you do feel that it's more of a neutral venue than ever before. So we've got to make sure that we don't let Wales make the most of that opportunity. We've got to create our own energy, impose our game, even though there's not 60,000 supporters there cheering us on. So that's an extra challenge for us being at home this weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if I'm asking this question again. I missed the first part, but can you be a little bit more specific on the injuries to Redpath and to Maitland and to Richie, please, sir?
Yeah, Jamie had a hamstring which tightened up during the game. He obviously had to come off, and it's not a serious hamstring injury. We expect him to be back in full training next week, or if not, the French week. Sean Maitland had a couple of niggles that were affecting his Achilles and his knee, which was going to mean that he wouldn't be able to train this week. But again, we expect him to be back next week, probably down with his club in London. And Cam Redpath presented with a neck injury or a neck issue the day after the game, which hasn't improved. And we've been liaising with his club after a scan on his neck, and he'll probably miss the next few weeks. But we just never know how quickly these neck issues resolve. But we're optimistic he'll be back involved with us at some point later in the championship.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Gregor, can I just ask, you touched on it at the start, but a lot of the players haven't had a great deal of rugby recently because of a lot of postponements and COVID and such like. Do you feel then that there's a lot of scope to build on that performance? I mean, a lot of people are raving about your performance, but do you think you can improve on that in the coming weeks because players will get back up to speed and get into a rhythm as well?
Well, that's the aim. We've always got areas we can improve, and there was a few at the weekend, notably finishing off opportunities that we created. We will get better as a group with more understanding, but we have to play another 4 games, which bring their own challenges and own situations that you have to adapt to. We're hoping for better weather this week. That was a huge positive of the performance last week, that we were able to be accurate and play with width at times, even though the conditions were poor. It's going to be very cold, but we're hoping for a dry ball this week so we can add even more to our game.
Hi, Gregor. Obviously, there was a lot of talk last week about 1983 and that long run. So I'll throw another unwanted stat at you, I think. It's been 25 years since 1996 that Scotland last won their opening 2 games it was actually 5 nations back then, so it wasn't even the Six Nations. So is this, a second consecutive week where this team can end one of these unwanted historic runs?
We'll see. Thanks for letting me know that, because we don't often know these stats until after when things have been achieved. And that's what we have to focus on, earning the victory, earning whatever we achieve. The players have set about that task really well this week of training. I feel there's a buoyant mood, but also a real focus that this game is going to be a very tough one, and we have to keep improving. So we'll see what happens during those 80 minutes, but we know this is going to be a really tough challenge.
Thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, please?
Yeah, I'll throw in a final one. Obviously, the breakdown is going to be a big area, and I've noticed that Wales have picked Aaron Wainwright, who's not the biggest. Do you think you can try and dominate Wales at the set piece?
No, look, I'd argue Aaron Wainwright is a really good set piece player and quite big, certainly bigger than me. So we see real quality within the Welsh forward pack. Someone like Ken Owens, who's so experienced, a real leader defensively. Alan Wynne, obviously the most capped player in world rugby. Justin Tipperick was outstanding last week, and he has been for a number of years. You got Faletau, Lyon, and then Wainwright, who had a great breakthrough season for Wales a couple of years ago, amongst other players. So they're experienced, they're tough, and just like last week, we know we're going up against a really good pack.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
All done?
All done. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Gregor, thanks, Matt.